Over the past few months, we have seen the rhetoric from India escalate higher than in previous governments. From the statements of Parrikar to Modi's speech at Dhaka University, the Indians are on a clear path to draw Pakistan into war. Today, we will be talking about the escalation and rhetoric coming from India. Khalid, we have heard Parrikar talk about fighting terrorism with terrorism and Modi saying that they will break Pakistan into pieces. Where is this coming from when the Pakistan government is trying to achieve peaceful relationships with India?
We have to understand that Pakistan's relationship since Nawaz Sharif's government has come into power has been a position of trying to establish peace in the region. Nawaz Sharif has always believed that peace in this area will come with an agreement on Kashmir. And we've always been pushing that we should settle Kashmir and bring that powder keg to a resolution. Now, when in the past 2 years we've seen most favored nation offered to India, we've seen many overtures made for the relationship to get better. But for India to ramp up, since Modi has come in as prime minister with different kinds of rhetoric against Pakistan, it really is more of something where you're just trying to, for lack of a better way, you're trying to pump up your own egos. And it's a level of psychological warfare where you keep telling Pakistan that we're going to do this to you, we're going to do this to you, we're going to do this to you, trying to put fear into our country. The problem you have is that your army's not battle tested. And when you look at what India's own military is capable of, they don't have the teeth that Pakistan has. So I don't understand the rhetoric because it's nothing more. You're not actually going to take a step on this. Other than what we see with Balochistan, and you're getting beat there. We saw you do it with the TTP, and they're getting beat there as well. You are trying to now scare us into believing that you're tougher than we are. And at the end of the day, 13 years, Pakistan's been fighting an insurgency, and we are battle tested. So starting another fight with us is not a really good idea. So I really don't understand where India's positioning on this is, because the world's not ready to allow India and Pakistan to go to war with each other. These are two nuclear-armed states. You're not going to let these two go tooth and nail against each other. So it really makes no sense to me that India would be ramping this up the way they are.
Khalid, how much of the escalation do you think has to do with the renewed relationship between Afghanistan and Pakistan? How much of an effect do you think it will have on the military and civilian relationship?
Yes, this is the key point. This is the key point. As long as Karzai was in power in Afghanistan, India had a free hand. They were able to move their military there and trade in the Afghan security forces. He got a lot of business support. He got a lot of investment support from India. And it gave him a false sense of power because he knew he had India at its back. But now the relationship has changed. With the U.S. pulling out of Afghanistan, the U.S. themselves said, look, we want Pakistan and China to take the front foot. And we saw Ghani's government, as soon as they came in, they canceled all of the defense contracts with India, which pissed them off, for lack of a better way of saying it. We've seen the Indian government going back and forth to Kabul and saying, look, we've had this long relationship with you. This is what we've done. This is what we've done. This is what we've done. You can't end our relationship like this. It's almost like one of those slighted girlfriends that once you break up with her, the girlfriend keeps coming back and calling and saying, look, please, we've had so much fun. We've done this and we've done this. Why are you leaving me? But the U.S. is saying that, look, we're leaving 10,000 troops in Afghanistan. There's the Taliban, there's Al-Qaeda, and now there's ISIS moving in. We need a force in that region that is able to counter all of these. And that's Pakistan. So you've asked Pakistan to take the front foot. You've asked China to take over the business relationship and the investment relationship. And there's no better option for Afghanistan than to work with us in China. The problem with India is that every time there's a forward overture with Pakistan, there's a terrorist attack that happens behind it. The NDS signed a deal with the ISI to start intelligence sharing between the two countries. There was an attack on the parliament. And it was blamed on Pakistan, and the ISI's name was taken very, very regularly. There are still some black seeds inside the Afghan government that have nothing better to do than to blame the Pakistanis for everything that happens in Afghanistan. Now, I'm sorry, if you're such puppets that Pakistan sitting in Islamabad can control everything that happens there, then just become part of our country. Because obviously that's your issue, that your people are so loyal to Pakistan that your government has no power. But it's that mentality that they've gotten in their head that India is saying, look, you leave Pakistan and China, forget them, we'll take care of you. We spent 12 years, 13 years working with you as long as the U.S. has been there, and we've given you this, and we've helped you with this, and we've helped you with this. We've built your business. We've established your economy. You need to keep working with us. And the U.S. is saying, no, look, Afghanistan and Pakistan have a much longer relationship. They share a border. They've got a brotherly relationship. This is where it should go. Now, India is enough into the dirty proxy wars that we can expect every time there's a forward step, every time there's an overture where the relationship starts to get better, something's going to happen in Afghanistan, and Pakistan's going to get blamed. It is going to affect our relationship with Afghanistan. Because you can only keep pointing the finger at us so many times before we finally say, you know what, that's your border, stay on your side, we'll stay on ours, don't cross it. You do, it's an act of war. And that's what India is trying to force with us, is that what could be a great relationship between Ghani and Islamabad, they're trying to undermine by playing this game, and Karzai is playing with Abdullah. Abdullah is one of his students, and students in the term of was part of his government. Karzai wanted Abdullah to be the new president of Afghanistan. He lost. Now he's trying to use Abdullah and General Dostum to undermine what is going on with Pakistan. We also heard Modi say that, and this was a threat directed at the Afghan government, that if we don't see better relationships, we will reinvent the Northern Alliance. Now, if you relaunch the Northern Alliance, then you've committed what we consider an act of war, because the Northern Alliance was never on our side. They were never pro-Afghanistan either. They are there to fight. And that's what the current defense minister wants. There are a lot of cogs moving in this, and India is trying to play every little piece of leverage they've created in Afghanistan for the past 12, 13 years. It all comes down to what the Pakistani politicians are able to deliver and how they're able to explain to Afghanistan that it's not us. We have no reason to cause trouble inside of Afghanistan. We want a peaceful Afghanistan, just like we want a peaceful relationship with India. It's your choice whether you want to work with us or you want to work with somebody else. We've been there for the past 40 years. We still have Afghans in our country that we have not expelled. If you don't want to work with us, fine. It's no skin off our back. But understand there is another side to this coin, and you don't want to see the other side of that coin.
Khalid, last month, a Chinese submarine crossed Indian waters without them detecting it. This has also drawn a lot of fire from the Indian media and analysts. Was the submarine there to spy, or were they just testing the waters?
I love the Indian media. I really do. They are the easiest people to get pumped up and screaming and yelling about things that didn't really. They are the boy who cried wolf. The submarine that came into to India's waters was a Type 39A Yuan class diesel submarine, and it has the ability to travel 10,000 kilometers, and it can stay submerged for weeks at a time. Pakistan's Navy is negotiating a purchase of, I believe it's 8 or 9 of these Type 39 submarines. So what China was doing is they were showing us that with full fuel, full staff, fully weaponized, how far can it go? What is it capable of? What are we actually selling you? It was just a demonstration of what our military hardware can do inside of your waters. Because look, Pakistan's not adventurous. We're not going to have a submarine and send it to the U.S. or we're not going to send it to Australia. We want to know how to defend our country from the water. It's basically what we call a second strike capability. All China was showing us was how the submarine that we're buying is going to operate inside the Indian Ocean waters. Now, the Indians turned this into, they were spying on us and we can never trust the Chinese, and look at the overture, and this happened right after Modi left China. And what kind of a relationship does this leave us with China? The Indian media went absolutely nuts over this, and their commentators, their quote-unquote defense analysts, were all blaming China, saying this was an aggressive step, and this is China trying to understand how strong they really are, and they're overstepping their boundaries. We even heard Indians saying that the Indian Ocean belonged to India. That's a lovely statement, but nobody's waters belong to anyone. Pakistan has their waters, and it's international waters outside of that. They don't, just because it's called the Indian Ocean doesn't mean it belongs to India. So India really needs to settle down, because they get so pumped up with their own nationalism and with their own jingoistic rhetoric that they don't really know the foolishness of the things they're saying. We buy weaponry, India buys weaponry. We want to know how a weapon is going to operate inside of our airspace, inside of our waters. We have every right to do so. The fact that it got through Indian waters and sat there and you didn't know it was there, that's your problem, not ours. And if you want to turn it into something much worse than what it really is, that's also your problem, not ours. See, the problem Pakistan has is that we need to stop caring what the Indians think, and we need to let the Indians self combust on their own, because they're completely capable of doing so. They get so riled up over little things that happen, and they think that because they have established in their own heads that they're a superpower, that they can take Pakistan, they can push us around, and they can make us, behave as if we were little children. We are a nuclear armed state. We know how to fight. Our military is strong. Our intelligence services are stronger than raw. And India needs to accept the fact that these things are true ground realities. Whether they like our relationship with China or not is none of our business. We don't like India's relationship with the United States. But you don't see us screaming and yelling about what India and the U.S. do. It happens. That's diplomacy. That's statehood. But the way that the Indians went nuts over this, oh my gosh, you would think that we had launched an attack on India. So the problem here is that India really needs to settle down and understand that everything Pakistan is doing is not a direct confrontation to India. We have the right to defend our country, and if we're buying weapons, and if the country we're buying weapons from brings that sub